So we're going to talk about our spines today. We're going to talk about ways of mobilizing through them, being careful, of course, always with your spine. It's the main structure in your body because your limbs are just attached to it. So really, really important. So we're going to look at ways that we use in yoga to keep the health of your spine. It's one of the most important practices in yoga, and one in the times I've spent in India, one that particularly the elderly yoga practitioners use all the time. If they do nothing else, they back bend. So we're going to look at a series of back bends. We're going to warm your back up first, and then we're going to go through a little series of yogic back bends. So to begin then, let's think about what your spine can do. It can do all kinds of movements actually. You can bend it forward, you can bend it back, you can side bend to one side and the other, and you can rotate. And then different areas of your spine have different amounts of mobility. So the most flexible part of your spine, if you think about it, is your neck. So you've got 7 vertebrae in your neck, and you've got wonderful movement in your neck. Hopefully that you haven't been doing things with it to make it really tight. And then your upper back, your thoracic spine, and you've got 12 in your thoracic spine, tend to be a little more rigid, much less movement. And then your lower spine has got quite a little bit of movement, not as much as your neck, of course, but way more than your upper back. And we tend to, of course, overuse that. And then your sacrum, those 5, you've got 5 big vertebrae in your lumbar spine, your lower back, and then you've got the 5 fused vertebrae in your sacrum, and that's the back, basically the back of your pelvis. So we're going to think about then ways of maintaining the health of your spine. Those of you who follow any of my videos will know that I do some work on the pull-up and chin-up bar, and that's one great way of looking after your spine, just simply hanging out of the bar, whether with the forward or backward grip on the bar. Really, really useful and helpful. What I'm going to do today then is do a little more with the kind of yoga practice we would do, say, in a back bending class in a yoga class. So to begin then, we're just going to work on our necks, just warm up our necks before we do any of this. And I'm going to include breath work in this as we would in a yoga practice. So mostly as you move downwards, you exhale, and as you move upwards, you inhale. So as you exhale, slowly drop your chin to your chest. Let your chin rest on your chest and take your shoulders back and down, and that stretches the side of your neck. As you inhale, slowly lift your chin up, take it up and back. But keep quite a space at the back of your neck, so don't keep about space an orange maybe at the back of your neck. And then as you exhale, slowly drop your chin to your chest, let your chin rest on your chest, and take your shoulders back and down. Then slowly bring your chin back parallel with your mat. Now as you exhale, gaze over your right shoulder. As you inhale, take your head back to center. As you exhale, gaze over your left shoulder. As you inhale, take it back to center. As you exhale, move to the other side. Inhale back to the center, and then exhale over the other side. And inhale back to center. All of these movements are slow and considered. I'm going to side bend next, so take your left palm to the mat, and as you inhale, take your right arm up and over your right ear. So you can see my palm is facing down, fingers are together, my elbow is straight, so I don't want this kind of movement, I want that nice long stretch. As you inhale, you lift up, so this is side bending, and as you exhale, you come over to the other side. And then we'll do it one more time each side. Inhale as you lift up. Inhale up again, and then as you exhale over, and as you inhale, coming all the way back to the center. A slight twist now, so take your right palm to your left thigh and use your left arm then to swing it around behind your body to open up your left shoulder. As you inhale, you lift, and as you exhale, you twist. Inhale, you come back to the center and then you twist over to the other side. Inhale, lift, exhale to twist. So inhale, come back to the center and we'll twist. And then inhale back to center and we'll twist. And then just one more to do. So bring your palms together, interlace your fingers and press your palms away. Tuck your chin to your chest and pull your tummy in. And you can feel your shoulder blades coming apart. You're flexing your chin down to your chest. And then take your arms up over your head. So this is a spinal stretch. So you're just basically stretching your spine. And then take your arms around behind you and interlace your fingers, press your palms together. And then try and keep your elbows straight and lift your arms away from your body. So you're opening up the front of your chest, and this is just preparation work for the back bending we're going to do. And then slowly release your hands, place your palms on your thighs, and just roll your shoulders. You're going to slip off your seated position, whatever seated position you were in, and you're going to come to what we call in yoga tabletop. So your palms are resting underneath your shoulders, so they're in line. Knees are hip width apart and they're stacked underneath your hips. And in yoga we call this cat-cow. As you inhale, you take your head and your sit bones up and your tummy is to the mat. As you exhale, you tuck your chin to your chest and you dome your back up. You also pull your tummy in. So inhale as you lift up, and then exhale as you round your spine. Inhale as you lift up, and then exhale as you round your spine. And then as you inhale, coming back to neutral, pressing into your palms and putting your sit bones back on your heels. So you've got your bottom sitting on your heels. This is the most important part of this. We call this balasana or child's pose in yoga. This is the most important part, that you've made that connection. Then with that connection in place, you can slide your forehead forward. If your forehead doesn't reach the mat, don't do this to get the forehead down, because that's not doing anything for your body. It's this part of the pose that works. So if your head won't come down, just make two fists, stack one on top of the other and rest your forehead on that. Or if you need a little more help, I've got a couple of blocks there. So you can rise up to whatever level you need. And then you walk your hands forward. And this is a back stretch. So you're stretching out your back. And then to move forward again, going to move forward right, and you're going to lie on your mat. Stack your elbows underneath your shoulders, your palms are on the mat, and you're gazing down. You're not gazing straight down, just a little ahead of your fingertips. Your tops of your feet are on the mat, your kneecaps are lifted, and your tailbone is tucked under. And you're puffing your chest forward. And this is a lower back bend. And we call this baby cobra. And we usually hold this for about 5 breaths. It's a very gentle, controlled, easy movement, a back bend movement. It's the first of them that we do in the class. And then as you exhale, lower down, make a pillow out of your arms, bend your knees, and gently rock your feet side to side. And that's just a way of releasing any tension that may have built up. And then dropping your feet back down again. If that baby cobra felt just about right for you, then you would stay with that. But if you wanted to take this a little bit further, you would place your hands to where your elbows were, press into your palms to lift your chest up, and then tuck your elbows into your rib cage, but don't let your shoulders come up. So shoulders back and down, elbows tucked in. This is a much deeper back bend. So just see how that feels. It's quite deep into your back bend. If you're in this with me, then you can also feel your glutes switched on as well. And we would hold this, usually we would hold this for about 5 breaths. And then on your exhale, slowly lowering down. Make a pillow again, bend your knees, rock your feet from side to side. And from here, place your left elbow under your left shoulder and bend your right knee, and then hold on to the top of your right foot with your hand. So I'm opening up my right shoulder, but I'm also stretching my right quad. And this is just a warm up for the next pose we're going to do. And then slowly drop that down. And we'll move to the other side. So stack your right elbow under your right shoulder, bend your left knee, and then just hold on to the front of your foot and you're lifting up your left quad. And then slowly lowering down. And we're coming into the next pose is called bow pose. So bend both knees, hold on to the tops of your ankles. If you can't reach your ankles, maybe reach your shins, or maybe just do the actions. This is what we're doing, this. But if you can't reach, just lift up that way. So holding on to my tops of my feet, I'm going to lift up my shoulders and lift up my knees. And this is a back bend. And then you can hold this for as long as you like, or maybe not. And then slowly lowering down. Make a pillow, bend your knees, rock your feet from side to side. So we're always about releasing a pose after you've done it. From here then, we're going to press into your hands to lift up, and you're going to sink your body back into child's pose again. So finding that lovely long stretch. And it's really interesting how different your back feels when in this stretch after you've done your back bends. This is not all now, we have another couple as well. And then from here, lifting up. And remember, being really careful with practices like this. You only do what you feel that your body can do. If you've got lower back issues, you would stick with baby cobra. You wouldn't advance it any further like I'm going to do now. So I'm not going to do a really advanced poses, but if you're going to do the next one with me, then you need to, if you're using a mat or something, fold it over. If you're using a blanket, fold it over, just to protect your knees so your kneecaps aren't affected at all. So I'm just going to roll it back a little bit. And then I'm going to be up on my knees, and my knees are hip width apart. And then to start off with, I have my toes curled under. I'm going to place my hands to my lower back. And to start with, I'm just going to push my pelvis forward to get the bend in my back that way. So the thing that as we advance this pose that we don't want to do is to lean back. That's a totally different pose, and we'll do that another day. That's a quad strengthener. But for now, we're just concentrating on our back. So you need to keep your hips over your knees. So if I was up against the wall, my hips would not come away from the wall. So to begin with, both my palms onto my lower back, and I'm just pushing my pelvis forward. And then if you want to if that feels okay and it feels good to you, and you feel like you should take it a little bit further, then you can swing your right arm back to your right heel, your left arm back to your left heel. And then you can push your body forward. And we're into a more advanced back bend. Coming out of this, you place one hand to your spine, the other hand to your spine, you lift up, and then you sit back down and let your spine recover from what we've been just doing. We can advance this as well, of course. We can take it a little bit further. So if you want to take it a little bit further, you can follow along with me. So this time, rather than having my toes tucked under, I have the tops of my feet on the mat, and I'm going to place my palms on the soles of my feet. Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it now today, but I'm going to show you how to do it. So place your palms on your back again, just to make sure that it feels okay. Feels okay, then pushing your back forward, and then take one palm down and then the other. Yeah, I am going to do it, feels grand. And then push your chest forward. And you're in a more serious back bend here. And then slowly place your palms coming up, and always being careful coming up. Don't rock up one side and then the other and twist your spine. Not advisable at all. I would repeat those a couple of times, depending on how I was feeling in any one day. And then I would just fold my mat right out again, and we're going to come in to another pose. And this is I love this pose, and it's something I do myself every single day. And it's a bridge pose, we call it, Padangusthasana. Oh no, it's not Padangusthasana, it's, I can't remember the name of it in Sanskrit now. It'll come back to me in a minute when I'm down here. Not to neglect our cores as we go down. Chuck your chin to your chest and roll your back. So lowering down, as you lower down, I want you to keep engaging your core muscles, and that's going to protect your back. And it's why it's so important to have a strong core, to work on it religiously so that it can control your movement, and then it'll always protect your back. And then lying all the way down on your mat, and then we get down on your mat, stretch out, nice big long stretch out, and then I'll move my body down a bit so not to fall off the edge of my mat. And we're going to come into this pose that I love. It's called Setu Bandhasana, actually. I remember when I'm in it's really interesting how memory is often location based. So now that I'm in the pose, I know the name of it, whereas I'd forgotten it when I wasn't in it. Anyway, you're going to bend your knees and your feet are hip width apart. And then you're going to stretch your fingers down and see, can you touch your heels? If you can touch your heels, you're just about in the right position. So my shoulders are on the mat and my palms are on the mat as well. And we go in and out of this really slowly. And it's really interesting the way it works. So this is a really good movement for kind of tractioning your spine, really, making sure that it stays healthy and movable. And the one thing you don't want is for your spine to be rigid, because it's capable of quite a bit of movement. So begin then, I'm going to start by pressing into my feet. And I just want you to recognize what happens when you do that. I can already feel my hamstrings switching on. I can feel my glutes switching on. I can feel my core switching on. Now I'm going to curl my tailbone. And when you curl your tailbone, your lower back presses into the mat. And now deliberately press your lower back into the mat. And now start to peel your spine up, one vertebra at a time off your mat, until you can get up as high as you can go. So when you're here, I want you to squeeze your glute muscles. You can hang out here with the non-engaged glute muscles, but I want you to just squish them together, as it were. And then imagine that you've got, say, a rugby ball or something between your knees, and press on it, but your knees aren't going to come together. And that'll switch on your inner thighs. So all of these muscles are voluntary. You can control them. You can switch them on and switch them off. Mostly we switch them off. We don't bother. But I want you to really engage here. And this is working so many things in your body. If you really squeeze your glutes, really squeeze your inner thighs, you can feel all that activation through your body. So you're stretching the front and strengthening the back. And it's also spinal work, of course. We're going to come out of this in the same slow, methodical way by laying your back one vertebra at a time back down onto your mat. Nice, slow, methodical movement, controlling it, of course, with your core, and then laying your back all the way down onto your mat. And when you get down, just totally relax. No movement, nothing happening. We're going to advance this pose a little bit more now by including our hands in the pose. So coming into it in the same way, press your feet into the mat, curl your tailbone, press your lower back into the mat, and just feel those vertebrae moving as you lift each one up off your mat. When you get up as high as you can go, I could feel one of my little click in my back there, which is really good. This time, try and interlace your fingers underneath your back and walk your shoulders in. And now try and press your palms together. And now you've got into a much deeper back bend. So the shape of your body is changed quite radically. So you're stretching the front of your shoulders. I can feel that right into the front of my chest. Now you're still squeezing your glutes. You're still trying to push your knees together. And you're making a really, really strong back bend, plus the glute work, plus the inner thigh work, plus the chest opening. Really, really interesting compound pose. You just hold it, hold it for a count of 5 or 10. And then release your hands first, and then that same slow, deliberate releasing of your spine onto your mat, and just feel that really nice movement. And when you're down completely, the sense of relaxation that you get when you have your spine back down on the mat is amazing. And the sense of relaxation shows you how hard you were working when you were doing the pose. And then to release that, or to really stay quietly always afterwards for about sometimes I would lie just like this for maybe half a minute, 30 seconds or a minute, and just let my spine feel the benefits of what I've been doing. And now I would place my palms on top of my knees and rotate my knees around my hips. And what you can feel when you do that is your lower back and your sacrum massaging off your mat, and then change direction. And then, because I always do this for myself, I would keep my feet together and use my hands to gently open up my hips. And then I would take it in the opposite direction. And then, as one last stretch for my spine here, I would stretch out my left leg on the mat and flex it back towards me. I'd hug my right knee into my right shoulder and just stretch out there. So I'm stretching my spine when I do this. I'm also opening up my right hip, of course, as well, but I'm also stretching my spine. Then I would stretch my right leg out and hug my left knee in to my left shoulder. And then I would slowly lower my leg down. And then I point both of my toes forward, and I would stretch my arms up over my head, and I would have a lovely big long stretch. Just finding, and this is a spinal stretch as well. Nice big long stretch. And then I would hug my knees in towards my chest. I would roll over to my right, left palm to the mat, left leg stretched out, and I would come up to seated. And that is just a very little basic set of back bends. And of all the things that we do in yoga, I think this is the most beneficial that we can do. There are loads more other ones that I can do, and I'd probably do a more advanced sequence with you another day. But just for today, if you practice even any of those, always, of course, being careful that you, if you've got any, particularly a lower back injury, that you get clearance from your GP or your physio first, before you ever begin backbending or anything like that. But as you know, all of you know who practice regularly with me, I'm well into my 70s and I don't see any deterioration in my spine. My DEXA scans are great, and I think it's due to movement. It's due to trying to stay strong, trying to stay flexible. And I find yoga really useful, and I'm going to continue to do little yoga sequences with you. Not a full yoga practice or anything like that, because I know people have ideas about yoga, but the things that I find really useful for me as somebody who's interested in fitness and, you know, just keeping your body healthy as you age. I will introduce you to all of those, the ones that I do regularly. I teach regular yoga classes as well, of course, and I see how beneficial they are. But I want just to include in this little sequence of videos the things that I find useful, and that backbending, those little simple backbending things I find very useful. So as we would do in yoga, I'm going to take my hands to heart center and bow my head and say namaste. And I will see you in the next video.